Hi, this is Jim Shafter, and I'm talking to you today from the Star House Ski Shop in Truckee, California. And my purpose today is to talk about binding installation and implementing lifts on the skis for race binding. So those are two critical things that take place in the pre-season when we're getting our skis ready to go. Bindings have gotten simpler and simpler to install over the years, but with the addition of lift plates and trying to get ramp angle adjusted, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made. And so I'm going to run you through the process to help clear up any possible mistakes that you could make along the way. So the first thing I want to talk about is setting the binding on the ski. One of the most critical deals is to take a millimeter measure and get your mounting mark measured on both skis. So I set it on the tail and I pull forward, and my midsole mark is at 70 millimeters, and you should have that recorded so you know where it's supposed to be. So I line up at 70, I measure the other ski to make sure it's a match before I start. The next thing I do is go to my binding placement chart. This happens to be a marker binding with a marker plate, and so it tells me what my toe position is. I've got a boot sole that's 306 I'm putting on, and I'm going to be in the number 1 position, which is the furthest position back, and on the heel I'm going to be in the number 8 hole, which matches up as well. So before I start, I want to talk real quick about one of the tools that you use. This is a Posi-Drive number 3 driver. This is the only driver that should be used on a ski binding screw. Its characteristics are that it's got 4 main blades, and then in between those main blades there are 4 more smaller blades that line up with the screw head that comes with all modern bindings. So screw head, Posi-Drive, really accurate control, so you can't strip the top of the screw out. The second thing to talk about, in this particular case, this ski has already had a binding on it in those matching numbers that I'm going to mount to, and if you can get in close here and see, the threads are already set into the plate. What I want to be careful to do is not cross thread, so one of the tricks to prevent cross threading is to actually reverse the screw, putting down pressure on it. So I'm going backwards until it drops, just like that, and then I turn forward. That guarantees that I do not cross thread the screw and I get it right back into the threads that are already set in the plate. Okay, in this particular case, I'm also adding lift plates to the system to get the correct ramp angle for this particular skier. We're trying to get 2 millimeters higher in the heel than in the toe. To accomplish that, I'm going to put two 2 millimeter lift plates underneath the toe piece. And every ski is different, so the number I'm giving you here just applies to this one size ski and this one model binding. But one of the things you have to do is, once the plates are in, you have to have screw lengths that are acceptable, and you need to show 4 threads that will go into either into the ski top or into the plate. So if you can count 4 threads, each thread in a modern ski binding is 2 millimeters apart. So 4 threads equals 8 millimeters of penetration. That's how deep it's got to be into the plate to hold properly. And so I will set this up, set it on the ski, reverse my screw until it clicks, and I'm in the threads. Click, okay, and then shoot it in. So I'm in the right place, I've got the right length screw, and now I'm going to set the second set of screws in on the toe piece. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do a quick check of my height. I've got a gauge in millimeters that I set on the anti-friction plate and against the base of the ski. And can you get the number? So my toe height is at 47.55. Now onto my heel. I'm going to set my heel plate up according to the chart, 8 back. So starting here, this is number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Set my plate on. Set my binding above it. And I'm going to speed this one up by using a screw shooter. But before I use the screw shooter, I'm going to make sure that my screws are not cross-threaded. So I go backwards until they click. backwards until it clicks, back until it clicks, back until it clicks, and now I can shoot these in. I've got the clutch set on the drill so I don't overpower the screw and strip it, and I will tighten by hand. One last trick is to go diagonally from one side, across, across, and across. That helps draw the binding down evenly and tight. So now I'm installed, ready to go. I'm going to make a quick check of the heel like we did with the toe. So highest point on the heel piece to the base of the ski, and this one measures up at 49.45, 49.60, and that means I have a 2 millimeter differential, which is what I was looking for. The heel is 2 millimeters higher than the toe piece. At this point, the last thing to do is to adjust the binding length to the boot sole. This is the boot that's going into the system. You set it in, lock it down, and then we'll take a look at the forward pressure screw. And in this particular binding, the forward pressure screw needs to be flush with the back. You can see this one sticking out a little bit. Alright, so we're going to tighten it until the head of that screw is flush to 1 millimeter inside the housing. And instead of just letting it go like this, you have to double check by removing the boot from the system and stepping back in to see where it's at. And in fact, it's still a little out. So I'm going to take another turn on the screw till it's flush or 1 millimeter in. Open, recheck the reset, and that's absolutely perfect. The last thing you'll do is preset the din for the size and the weight of the athlete that's going out, and we are set and ready to go. So we just covered how to measure, how to decide where the binding goes on the plate, how to set a screw in when the binding has already been on the ski or it's been tapped and you want to match the threads, then how to measure toe and heel height for the differential, and once that's all set, how to adjust the forward pressure. The most common mistakes made out on the hill are not enough forward pressure on the binding. That is absolutely the most common reason why skis will leave the skier early, is if there's not enough forward pressure from the heel. So make sure you're always checking here, and one of the hints about forward pressure is that in cold temperatures the boot sole actually shrinks. So I just adjusted this boot and binding inside in a 70-degree shop. When this goes out on the hill, the boot sole will shrink and the forward pressure will actually be too light. So it's good to have your coach come in and double check your forward pressure before you go into the course. I'm Jim Schaffner, giving you information on binding and binding lifting and ramp angle from Starhouse in Truckee, California. Thank you.